It's the end of a remarkable life, and with it, the end of a remarkable chapter in world history. War veteran Claude Chuckles-Choules has died at a Perth nursing home at the age of 110. Mr Choules was the last man alive to have seen action in the First World War. In his long military career, he served in 2 navies in 2 wars, and he was deeply scarred by what he saw in combat. Danielle Parry reports.
The passing of Claude Choules is a turning point in terms of our history. He was a remarkable man by any shadow of the imagination.
Claude Choules served in both the British and Australian navies, fighting first the Germans and later the Japanese. He died in his sleep at a Perth nursing home at the age of 110.
I think a trapdoor is now closed on a whole period of our history. No longer will you be able to touch anyone who is involved in World War I, that dreadful war that claimed 20 million human lives.
Navy top brass paid tribute to his contribution at today's commemoration service for the Battle of the Coral Sea.
Well, I felt very sad, as I was saying earlier. I think it is a moment that does represent the passing of a generation, and I think it's something that we should acknowledge and reflect upon very carefully.
Known as Chuckles-Choules to his mates, he ran away and joined the British Navy at just 14.
He had 2 elder brothers who both were in Gallipoli or served in Gallipoli, so I suppose in that respect he had no family left at home, so he lied about his age and enlisted in the Royal Navy.
As a young naval officer, he saw the historic surrender of the German fleet in 1918.
Yes. The 2 leaders came to the headquarters, our headquarters, and they advanced for us to see them and for them to see us. And that's how we talked, face to face.
He was at history's front line. This is the end of the war for the German Navy, shortly after the armistice on the 11th of November. And then, not only that, he was on the ship, the Revenge, that supervised the German scuttling of their fleet at Scapa Flow in the Orkneys.
After transferring to the RAN, he also played a crucial role in protecting Australia's west coast from the encroaching Japanese forces in the Second World War. As Chief Demolition Officer, he held the trigger to detonate Fremantle Harbour if the Japanese attacked.
He had laid charges and wired up all the facilities at the port, the ore storages, everything ready to be detonated if the Japanese arrived in Freo. He was the detonations officer, not only for Fremantle by the end of the war, but for the Western Australian coast.
Claude Choules' memoirs were published in 2009, nearly 3 decades after he wrote his story down in notebooks for his grandchildren. The release of The Last made Claude Choules the world's oldest first-time published author at 108. It's a remarkable tale of life on the high seas.
A lot of the early history he never talked to us about, and certainly opened my eyes up, yeah.
Despite his long and distinguished military career, Claude Choules did not champion war.
He hated war. He thought it was a total waste of resources, people getting killed, manpower and everything else. And he often, I think if he asked him, his last dying wish would have been the fact that please don't let there be any more wars, because he hated them.
He felt that war should never be glorified, and I think you'd probably find most members of the RSL would agree with him on that. War is a horrible, nasty business, but it happens, and when it happens, we have to stand up and be counted.
Historian Jonathan King says Claude Choules was not alone in his views on war.
The last 10 Anzacs I interviewed from Gallipoli, and the last 50 World War I soldiers from the Western Front, they all pleaded with me, do not glorify war. The Gallipoli fellows said it was a mistake, and the Western Front fellows said it was a horror show.
More than anything he did in war, Claude Choules was a devoted father who credited his large brood of children and grandchildren with being the keys to his long life.
And I see them often,
yes.
Every day, sometimes every day,
yes.
Sometimes every second day, but I see them often,
yes.
So that they never get stale for me. and I'll never steal for them.
That's right. And we all love you.